I would like to just ask you, Mr. Harrison, how it would benefit the digital music industry, which you represent. How will the Act benefit your industry and the tech industry more broadly? And what sort of difference will the bill make in places like California, Washington, and elsewhere that have strong tech communities and significant digital music presence?
Well, Senator, top of my head, I think all but one of my members has a headquarters either in California or Washington. And the one that doesn't have a headquarters in one of those two states has a large office there. So with those two states in particular, yes, our membership is well represented. Look, what the Music Modernization Act does from the digital music provider's perspective is eliminate business risk. And that business risk results in either reducing the catalog that gets made available to consumers, it reduces investments into the products and services that are provided to consumers. And so by eliminating that business risk, what we're doing is we're encouraging digital music providers to invest in new products, new services, create more compelling listening experiences for consumers, create more adoption of digital music services that ultimately ends up paying more money to copyright owners, creators, artists, and songwriters. And that's what fuels the next wave of creativity.
Well, thank you. I don't see anybody else here, so I'm going to ask one more question of you, Mr. Israelite. Why is transitioning from the 801B standard to the willing buyer, willing seller standard such a key point in all this? And how do you respond to critics who say that the 801B standard is better than the willing buyer, willing seller standard because it's more flexible?
I love that word, flexible. What they mean is they get to pay songwriters less. The 801B standard is an insult on top of an insult. Songwriters have their intellectual property taken under a compulsory license. They have no choice. They're not in a market. They can't say no. Then, when you set their rates, they're told that the standard to set their rates ought to be done in a way that purposefully gives you a rate less than what they would be able to achieve if they were in a free market. And so the willing buyer, willing seller standard is crucial to songwriters if you're going to keep them in a compulsory license. So at least the 3 judges who every 5 years sit in trial and tell songwriters what the value is of their songs can take into account what they think a songwriter could achieve if they were like every other creator in copyright that gets to set their prices in a free market. And for those that are fighting to protect the 801B standard, I find it so interesting because in addition to wanting to preserve a compulsory license, and in addition to wanting to preserve a bad rate standard for creators for themselves, they want their competitors to pay willing seller, willing buyer. And so if a competitor to XM Sirius were launched today, they would pay willing seller, willing buyer. If a competitor to Music Choice were launched today, they would pay willing seller, willing buyer. It is just because of this quirk that in 1995, Congress decided to somehow grandfather in existing companies that today is acting as a justification for it. It makes no sense. And so we don't know what the outcome will be when 3 judges are told to now set songwriter prices under willing seller, willing buyer instead of this 4-part test. But we're hopeful that it will lead to more fair rates for songwriters. And I think most of the people on this panel, even those who may oppose the bill, agree that songwriters deserve better compensation.
Well, thank you so much. I have to say this has been a particularly good panel in helping us to understand this. And if I've interpreted it correctly, every member of this committee who has shown up here today is for solving this problem. And I hope that we can move ahead and get this problem solved because it is really unjust, the way the current system really works as far as I'm concerned. And I think we can make it a much better system with a lot more incentives than we have today and create a situation where a lot of more talented people can get involved and we'll all benefit from more music, more talent, more opportunity, etc. I just want to thank you all for being here. Each one of you has been an excellent witness here today. And and we really appreciate it. Do you have anything further?
No, I just want to thank you. Senator Feinstein had to get pulled out, but she wants to thank you as well. And I think you see here some great bipartisan work that's going on. And I think that just shows how important this cause is. So we look forward to getting this done and resolving any differences that remain. So thank you very much.
Well, keep the pressure on, because we should get this up in
Yeah,
front of the
keep
committee.
rattling the walls and
Yeah.
shaking the.
Get it up to the committee, get the committee to pass it out, and then get it passed through the Senate. And I think we can do that. And in large measure, that'll be because of the testimony of all of you here today. And we're just very appreciative that you've come and helped us to understand this better. And with regard to you, Mr. Robinson, I've been a fan for years, and it's kind of nice to be able to meet a real talent like you. Not that you others don't have talent. and to realize that you're just a regular Joe, just like a lot of us, you know.
Well, thank you very much. And I was going to say that I'm going to tell Gladys you said hi too, because
Would you give her my love?
I'm going to,
All right,
absolutely.
she's very dear to me, and all I can say is that the little bit that I've done in the music world has been a lot of fun for me. And I didn't realize I could write lyrics until Janice Cap-Pera came to me and asked me to write with her. And she was an inspirational writer, mainly of children's songs, but a marvelous writer. And from that, then a number of other people in the industry kept coming to me and saying, would you write some with me? And I know that I'm not in your league, but
What do you mean I have your
Oh.
CDs? I have your collection. Right, my show.
I'd like to write one with you. I'm afraid
I'll do the lyrics.
I'm afraid it'd be too racy. That's the problem.
Well, this is probably a good time to end the hearing.
Well, it's really wonderful to have all of you here. We appreciate you taking the time, and I think you've been very helpful to us, and hopefully we'll get this bill passed, and it'll be a big step in the right direction, and then we can go on and work on some of the things we still haven't done and really should do. But God bless all of you. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
With that, we'll close this hearing off.